Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Uniquely Me with Simone Stewart. Thank you so much for tuning in week after week and for your support, guys. It means so much. Now, guys, just in case you haven't subscribed as yet, you've been enjoying the videos, I need you to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and of course, comment down below. Let us know how much you are enjoying the program. Well, guys, this week I have a fantastic, phenomenal woman. I found her on Instagram, and the moment I listened to what she had to say, I had to reach out. And it's rare that I reach out, guys, because the Lord has been providing persons to come. But I reached out to this woman. She's not a Jamaican, she's a St. Lucian. And so I can't wait for her to share her story with us. It's gonna be sassy. Wait, she'll soon come. Soon come back.
Uniquely me is uniquely you. Balancing the different hats of life, achieving all your goals in the name of Christ. Uniquely me is uniquely you. You can do anything. With the S on your chest, you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. You are a winner and you're an overcomer. You can be all things to Christ who gives you strength. Yeah, you are a fighter. You're so determined. Uniquely me is uniquely you.
All right, guys. So thank you for tuning in to Uniquely Me with Simone Stewart. Let me introduce right off the bat Stephany Ferguson. She calls herself Star, really. But I'll find out from her, why does she call herself Star? Stephany, welcome to Uniquely Me.
You're so funny. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. So, girl, why do you call yourself Star?
Wow, that's how you're going to start this interview. It's kind of embarrassing. In high school, I had this backpack that I wrote Barbie Star on. And then the name didn't stay until I don't know how. After I opened my business in the city in St. Lucia, everybody just started, I guess, from Instagram, because on my Instagram, when I was promoting the business, I have Star Ferguson. So Star Ferguson stayed. And when I moved to Miami, nobody knew me. So every time they ask me, what's your name? I'm like, Star. And then now nobody calls me Stephany. Everybody calls me Star.
Because I tell you something, I had every document I had written down for our interview, I had you as Star Ferguson. So I don't know what I was looking at, and I saw, oh, it's Stephany. Okay.
The book, probably. The book.
Could be. But I mean, listen, sometimes we have to put some stuff out there in the atmosphere. And a star is something that's absolutely bright, radiant, drawing others to themselves. And we're going to be digging into your story and for others to confirm that Star is just a perfect name for you. So you are from St. Lucia. What was life like growing up in St. Lucia?
Beautiful. Just let me tell you, St. Lucia is the most beautiful place in the world. So,
It's second to Jamaica, right?
I don't know what you're talking about, lady. But I like to say that I am from where people vacation. Some people dream of going to the islands, and we have an opportunity. We had an opportunity to grow up there. Yeah. So life in St. Lucia is beautiful. I miss home.
Awesome. Yeah. So you mentioned earlier about having a business there. You want to share what kind of business that was? Because I do notice that your bio stated that you were a model and stuff, but I also recognize that there is a wide cross section of things that you have done. I'm fascinated. So, and I know a number of persons watching now are like, oh my God, Star is on. So, talk with us.
I don't know what you're talking about. But in St. Lucia, my first business, I sold clothes online. So it was called Star Secret. I started when I was 25, I think. And at 27, I opened a restaurant, a bar, hookah lounge, and nightclub.
Okay. A hookah lounge. What's that?
A place where you smoke hookah. No, it's a place where you smoke like hookah.
What's hookah?
It's like a chalice, I think they call it. The one where it's like there's water in the vase, and then put the, I don't even remember, if I have to tell you. I've not paid attention to that for so long. But I think they do it in Jamaica a lot at all bars. It's so popular now. It's called hookah. Hookah.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to check, but I know in terms of they separate the name like that, so not so sure. But you started a business. What made you start a business so early? Is it that you
Um,
always had a dream that you would own your own business? You know, what was it?
that, but not only that, I think I was looking for, I was, how do I put this? I don't like to work for people, if I have to be honest. I like to do my own thing. But I cannot say that that was the reason behind me opening the business. I was looking for something in the world. I was missing something on the inside of me. And I thought the more I pursued the things of the world, the more it would fill me up. But it
Yeah.
was the complete opposite. It drained me.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like you're seeking for validation, and a lot of people think that entrepreneur, it's like it's cute to say that you're a business person, you're an entrepreneur. So for me, I guess that's where it was coming from, which was wrong. I still want to open my own business now, but it is completely different.
Yeah.
It's coming from a good place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Modeling, what was that like? How did you end up in modeling from business owner to model, or was it model and business owner?
Yeah, I was a model at home before a business owner. From 16, in school, I was still in the fourth form in high school, and I took part in something called oh wow, now the name is not even coming. It was actually regional. It wasn't just in St. Lucia. It was by T-Mobile, I think, at the time. And I was selected. I was one of the 20 models selected in St. Lucia. I did that. And then from doing that, other opportunities came. I was also a brand ambassador.
Yeah.
I took part in the first Hot Couture.
Mm-hmm.
I have not paid attention to those things for so long that
Yeah.
thinking of the names now make me realize how far God has taken me away from
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there was something in St. Lucia. I think it's still going on because of COVID-19. Last year, I'm not sure if they did it, but it's like you've probably heard of jazz
Yeah.
in St. Lucia Jazz. So they added a fashion show to it called Hot Couture. So I was also scouted for Hot Couture, and then from that I was also scouted to represent St. Lucia in Guadeloupe. So I did that as well. 5 of us represented St. Lucia in Guadeloupe. So yeah, I have been doing the modeling thing and brand ambassador. I started from age 16,
Yeah.
and then when those things happen as a young girl, you start to define yourself by that. I'm a
Yeah.
model, I'm a brand ambassador. Like you become your body. You no longer think of yourself as more than that.
Yeah. Yeah. So life continued, and
Yeah.
you ended up in the US. And I mean, I think it's almost every little girl's dream growing up, because even here in Jamaica, growing up, you think you want to go to America. Well, here we call it "wango foreign," speaking
You're
our
right.
language. But you ended up overseas, and you had some what I would call trauma, because out of that is what has given birth to a number of things that you are now doing. But we want to talk about the trauma, right? What led you first to the US and then finding love in the US?
Love in the US. Okay. So I used to travel here long before I actually started living here. I started coming to the US in 2013. I also worked on the cruise ship. You know, I traveled a lot before I permanently lived here. I had been to Miami, New York, Massachusetts, Boston.
Yeah.
I traveled a lot. I have not found love in the US. I just want to put that out there. A broken heart led me, God opened the right doors.
Yeah.
But I came here to literally get away from, the abuse that I was going through, the trauma that I was going through. So
Right.
what really led me to being here now permanently is a broken heart and trauma.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy for that correction. Because for some, maybe for me, I thought it all took place in the US, but it took place. So what we're about to talk about took place in St. Lucia.
St. Lucia, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was
I've only been here 3 years. Three
okay.
years.
I see. I see. I listened to a number of your YouTube videos. Very inspiring, I must say. And I realized that God is using you. Um, he's using your pain to help so many others. I don't know if you recognize that. But for you, it was, I want you to walk us through first, what life was with this person that you thought should have loved you and cared for you, but seemingly had led you down. I mean, I don't know if you call it betrayal and hurt, leading to abortions and stuff, but would you mind sharing that aspect of your life with us?
I like to say that that person actually loved me the way he knew how to love me,
Yeah,
and I did the same. We cannot fully, unconditionally love anyone without Christ. So
yeah,
sometimes it's not that that person does not love you, you know. The enemy can use good people to hurt each other. You probably sometimes are in a relationship, and I know a lot of people do not approach abusive relationships from that standpoint,
yeah.
but I love to say that we all have a story. And yes, in my story I was abused, but I always, in order for you to heal, you have to ask yourself questions like, what did I contribute to this,
Yeah,
and how did all of this happen?
yeah.
So in my healing, I think the reason I am where I am today is because I didn't just ask God to heal me and take me out of it, but I asked Him to show me what I contributed to that,
Mm.
what I was going through. So I was abused and I did go through a lot, and I wanted what I was in to last forever. But what is not for you and not from God will never last. Some people come into your life to show you certain things that you're supposed to learn
Yeah.
to and when you away when afterwards, how do I say that, in retrospect, I understand why I went through everything I went through in my past. As you were saying, God is now using it for my good, because all things work together for the good of those who love God. So God can use
Amen.
anything, the good things, the bad things, and the ugly things, for His glory and for your good. So
Yeah.
I understand why I went through that, but I don't want to approach it. I don't want to approach it as a victim, because I learned so much from it.
Mm.
And I'm praying for that man, because I understand what I contributed to that. It's wrong. Listen to me. I am not for any man raising their hand on any woman, but
Right.
sometimes we need to ask ourselves, what kind of person was I in that relationship? Because remember, I told you from the beginning of this question, me answering this question, that without Christ, you cannot really truly love somebody.
Yeah.
If you do not have Christ in your life, you cannot really truly love a woman, and a woman cannot truly love a man.
Yeah.
Sometimes people's actions are just reactions to what happened. It's two people and there are two stories. So
Yeah.
I want to say that yes, I wanted this to last, and it was my fairy tale. It was the first time I actually fell in love. I love this person and I still love this person, and I went through a lot, and nobody deserves to go through what I went through.
Yeah.
But the person I was back then, you can see me at the beginning of this interview, how much I am struggling to even remember. That is how far God has taken me away from the life that I used to live. But when I look at that girl, because I like to look at her as another girl,
Yeah.
she led me to who I am today. I appreciate her so much, but would I ever want to be that again?
Yeah.
Hell no. To
Mm.
be honest with you, I don't know if that answered your question.
Yes, it did. It did. You see, what we want to do here is that Uniquely Me is a platform for women to share their stories of trauma and transformation. And we're doing that because, Star, there are so many other women who are going through, and this platform has allowed me to see that. There are so many women going through the stories are so identical. Some don't have an avenue, right, to unleash and to break forth. So many are suffering in silence, but I've found too that the stories that are coming forth are helping to set them free. And so that's why I kind of dig in, because sometimes for them it's a mirror, right? It's a mirror. So when you begin to speak, they can, oh my God, this is me. I'm seeing myself. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm amazed too that God is using so many of us in this season to break so many others free. And the truth is, we will never know how many we are setting free until we get to heaven, then we'll know, right?
Mhm.
So that's it. But Star, I saw in one of your interviews, I think it was something I was looking on for you, that you ended up in the hospital with, I think it was a broken ribs or something to that effect. Is that the case?
A vertebrae.
A vertebrae, right? That was the word. What did that do? What led to that? And that experience, how did that experience jolt you back to say, hey, enough was enough?
I had seen my blood so many times that I had become accustomed to what I was going through and almost numb.
Yeah.
I think I like to speak to moms and tell them that they have to be so careful the seeds that they indirectly plant in their children,
Yeah.
because I had seen my mom go through it. I had seen people I love go through, domestic violence, abuse. And as much as I had seen myself, I knew the black eyes were wrong. I knew the blood was wrong. I knew the abuse was wrong. Something about what I was going through felt normal. So
Yeah.
at the back of my mind, I always told myself it will work itself out.
Yeah.
That day, however, it was just another fight. I used to count the fights, and I think I stopped at 40 something. And that's in between a 2.5 year, going on to 3 year relationships. That's the amount of times I was abused. Every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, there was a fight. And every single fight got worse.
Yeah.
At the peak of my business being open and, things getting better between us, the better it got financially, the worse the relationship became. It's almost like God allowed certain things in my life so I could never get comfortable. Like He allowed me, sometimes God allows you to have what you want. He allows you to have it so you can see that is not the answer. And He also shows you your potential. Like, if you can do that for the world, you can do it for my kingdom as well. And for me, that day, it was just another fight. We had gotten home. I think I was changing to go back down to the restaurant. And it always started with a little argument. And I remember that day, he said something that was hurtful. And he walked away. And no, I walked away. I was about to go to my car. And the worst thing I did, from our apartment, we had to go upstairs, like 2 flights upstairs.
Right.
The worst thing I did while he was arguing, following me, is that I stopped to answer, because I had a smart mouth. I still have a big mouth. God is just using it for His kingdom right now.
Yeah.
And that was the worst thing I did. When I did that, he pushed me, because I would say things that were so hurtful, things I knew would cut him. That's what we do to people that we love. We know them the best, and we use what we know against them to hurt them. And that's what I did. I can't remember what I said, and I don't think I want to say it either.
Right.
But I said something hurtful, and when I said that, which is most times how I got beaten, he pushed me. And when he pushed me, I hit my lower back on the edge of 2 of the stairs. Wow. And just in falling, I knew something was wrong. And he too knew something was wrong. I couldn't cry. I couldn't, no sound came out of my voice. Like, tears were just running down my eyes because the pain was so debilitating. And I remember him saying, if anything happens to you, can you just try to get up? And I couldn't even really hear him, because my mind was just on, am I going to be crippled for the rest of my life? In that moment, in my mind, I knew God all my life. I mean, I didn't have a relationship with Him. You can know of God and not have a relationship with God. But I was thankful, and I used to pray, and I used to go to church, twice a month sometimes. So in that moment, I said, Father, if you give me another chance, I promise you, I will walk this time. I will walk away from this. And I don't want to go into the details. I was right in front of my car, literally say 10, 15 steps away from my vehicle. It took me and him and it took us like 45 minutes to get me into the vehicle.
Oh my God.
Dragging, and he was afraid to call the police, because obviously if he called the police, he'd have gotten arrested. And then I didn't want him to get arrested either. So it was just some crazy toxic kind of love. When we got to the place, they ordered MRI and everything, and I was told that I'm very lucky that is the vertebrate, the one I cracked towards the bottom. There were no very sensitive nerves, and I was told it will take up to 3 months to start to heal properly. And if I don't follow specific instructions, it can get worse, because it is my spine. But that is what I can say, that as much as I did not leave the relationship right that minute, that is what gave me the strength, because in that moment, I know that it was God. God used that to really pull me out. Bad things don't come from God, for those watching this, because sometimes people like to say that God put me through that to get my attention. No. We have an enemy that came to steal, to kill, and to destroy, and he will do everything that he can until there is absolutely nothing left in you. God allows us to have our ways sometimes, because he knows ultimately it's going to lead us to him. When nothing else in the world makes sense anymore, we're going to come to him, our creator. That is really the only source that is going to fill us up.
Oh my God. I'm listening to you, and my heart, you notice I have my hand over my heart. It just is up, because man, I'm just thinking about the pain, the trauma, and like you said, you didn't leave. I mean, there's another guest that I had an interview with. She was beaten so bad that she ended up in the hospital unconscious for days. Nobody knew who she was. And so that's why I'm saying, our women go through so much. But, just before we talk about the transformation, part of the trauma too is the abortions. And again, it was listening to one of your videos that, you talked about the fact that he came, he convinced you to do it. And it wasn't just one time, but it happened again. Why? Why at some point in time did you not say to yourself, I want this baby. I love this man. I want this baby. Why am I doing this? Or should I ask, why did you do it?
I wish I could sit down here. I think that is the difference between me and a lot of people that, talk about God and really surrender to what God has called them to do. I wish I could sit down here and say, you know what? Yes, I wanted the baby. Yes, I wanted good. And he pushed me to have an abortion. That's not the case. I'm not sure I wanted the baby.
Yeah.
The baby before my daughter, I had an ectopic pregnancy. Then I had my daughter, and then I met this guy. I met this guy when my daughter was as young as 18 months. And raising a child is not easy.
Yeah.
Again, I was so caught up with the way I looked, my body. I thought my body, I didn't see myself as, being this wonderful person that God made me. I defined myself by what was around me and my body, and me being a model and a brand ambassador. And I thought I was so lucky that I gave birth to my daughter and nothing changed on me. I didn't get any marks. So I did not, in the time, for a very long time in my life, I said I don't want another child. It is now that God is changing me, that a lot of that mentality, he took it away from me completely, because the reason behind that was so negative.
Yeah.
I wish I could sit down and say that this man that I was with made me do all of the things that I was doing. And yes, maybe he influenced me,
Yeah.
But was I so in love with being pregnant that yes, I wanted another child, and he told me no, and then I agreed to it, and I felt so sad. I felt sad that I did that right in the moment when it happened. I remember the first day like today. I was like, what did I just do?
Yeah.
But did I feel that way before it happened? No. We're made by God, in his likeness and image. God is love. He does everything, as I said in my book, out of love.
Yeah.
And with love. So obviously, because we're made from him, we will feel when we do something wrong or we go through something bad. You feel it. But like, I was so caught up in the world that I said yes. I said yes to doing it, and I cannot blame it on him. I have to blame it on myself.
Yeah.
That is something that I know that God has forgiven me for.
Right.
That is something that I think I've done a lot of things in my life. That is one that God is still working on me to give me peace with it. I'm not happy about it at all. But I cannot pinpoint it on him. It's not because of him. It is if I wanted to keep the baby, I could have kept the baby. Like, let me tell you something about me. Nobody can make me do anything that I don't want to do.
Right.
That is God. I am bold like that. I will tell you, walk away from me. If I don't want to do that, you cannot make me do it. It was me. It had a lot to do with me. Yes, he was the one that came. I remember calling him and saying, I'm pregnant. And he came and he said, because of the situation, we cannot do it. And I agreed to do it. And it happened. It happened so quickly. I didn't have to go to the doctor. He knew how to get his way around it. He did it for me in my home, in my bed. Thinking of all of that right now, it shows you how God's hand was over my life, because that can kill you.
Yeah.
It's risky. It has all of its risks. And to do it without, somebody that knows what they're doing is even more risky. So it shows you how God is for us and how he loves us, that even while I was having my own way, and even while I was so disobedient to him, he protected me, and my body has no issues, and I'm healthy today, to speak his word.
Yeah. Star, I don't know, the hand of the Lord has just really been on you. And, listening to you and trying to envision what you were then, it's like, and that's what the glory of the Lord and the power of the Holy Spirit does, and the blood of Jesus, it transforms our lives. So now you are an advocate. I know you were married and divorced, and again, you speak about it so openly, of having a great relationship with your ex-husband and that kind of thing. But you speak a lot now of celibacy and that kind of thing, an advocate for a number of things, which when I listened to it, I was like, wow, this girl is so bold and so bright and out there. What is it that you're trying to do when you talk about celibacy, when you talk about singleness, when you talk about a number of things like those on your channel? What's your aim?
My aim is to have women like the woman that I was before, the girl that I like to call her the girl because she was so naive, is to, as them going through what I went through, to go to the root. I strongly believe in always going to the root. And you talk about things like abortion, and I can say in my teens I was promiscuous. When you think of those things from the root, it stems out of us not doing things God's way. That is sexual sin, sexual immorality. If we do things God's way, sexual immorality leads to so many other sins like abortion, cheating, lying. Young girls, they leave their parents' homes, telling their parents they're going, say, to netball or to football or to cheerleading, and they're with a man. So, not only are you sinning sexually, you're also lying to your mom. You're dishonest, you're betraying your parents. So what I want women to do is to know why God put certain things in the Bible. He put a lot of things in the Bible because he created us and he knows us. And as much as it is in front of us and it looks good, he knows our tomorrows. He knows that it is not good. So I want women to study God's word and know what God says about them and who they are, and not go looking for all kinds of stuff in the world thinking that it's going to fill me up or it's going to make me feel better. When you do not do, I wrote in my book that when we do not follow God's instructions, it leads to destruction. That is literally what happens to us when we try to find our way. Our parents sometimes speak to us and we don't listen to them. And then when you grow a little bit older, you say, oh my goodness, only if I knew. Don't take our education seriously. And then we say, oh my goodness, only if I knew. So I want women of all ages, I want to teach young girls that they can wait and they can honor their bodies and that they are not their bodies. I want to talk to those that, that have done it all wrong like me and tell them that you can start all over. Like God can just change you into a monument of his glory if you surrender all that you are to him. Look at me. I remember meeting a guy in the gym and he thought that I was an only child in a well-established home. When I gave him my Instagram, he said, I would have never known that you've been through what I said. You can go through the fire and not smell like smoke, and God can just change you. When I look at my old pictures, the brokenness in my eyes, what I'm wearing, like I'm questioning myself while looking at them. Why did you do that? Why did you wear that weave? Why were you wearing that outfit? And all of that is trying to seek attention, from people, hoping to be seen. Now I could not be bothered. I do things because I like to do it. I like makeup, so I wear my makeup. Everything I do right now is because I like it. If I have to come on social media with no makeup, I do the same thing because I am not my body. I am so much more than that. I am so much more than that. I'm everything that God said that I am.
Awesome. And one of the things that God has said about you is that you are an author. And so your book is out there, girl. I want you to hold up that book so we can see the book for starters. Do you have it close by? Yes.
Is it a title? Oh, it's not.
Saved by Grace. Talk to us about that book. What made you write Saved by Grace?
From crazy to Christ. I like to say
from crazy to Christ, right.
No, it is Saved by Grace as well. But the title is From Crazy to Christ, subtitle Saved by Grace. Even before my salvation, while I was in that relationship, I had been through so much in my life that I said, I want to write a book. I have to write a book. It was coming from so much brokenness, so much brokenness. I was resentful. I was broken. I wanted the world to know how much, I had been through. After my salvation, I started to journal. Like the desire to write the book became stronger. And I started to journal with pen and paper. And then I started to type in my computer. Let me tell you, if you read the first version of this book, it is so dark and so ugly. I was playing the victim. I wanted people to know how much I had been through. And then God kept taking me back to the book. I can say that I rewrote the chapters in this book. I cannot even count the amount of times I changed the name. God. What God told me is that everybody has a story. And he especially spoke to me about, the people in my life that hurt me. He took me to my mom. And he made me, there are certain conversations that I had never had with my mom before. But through me writing, I wanted to hear her story because she too has a story. Even my ex, he has a story. Everybody in our life that hurt us have a story. And sometimes they treat us how they were treated. Hurt people hurt people, you know. Hurt people, they bleed on other people. And I wrote my book, as much as it is my testimony, and I'm sharing my testimony. Every chapter shows women, you know, how God's hand basically was over my life.
Yeah.
God's hand was over my life throughout it all, you know, from the first chapter, chained, you know, just the way I was when I was born at 9 months old, whatever it was, the invisible enemy, something was sucking on my blood, like from that, I could have died. My mom took me to the doctor so many times. Nobody could have said what was wrong with me. And at 9 months old, I was taken to a fortune teller. And the thoughts were imparted, and whatever that woman used, people don't realize that those things, if you're not praying, you know, if it is not God that you're communicating with, you must always ask yourself, what power is that person using to heal me or heal my child? So what was it that I have at 9 months old? What was it that that woman wanted in return? You know, what the enemy wants in return. So when you think about that, from 9 months old and up to 28 years old, I gave my life to Christ. His hand was over my life all my life. And so my testimony basically is just to let people know that regardless of what you've been through, this book, Saved by Grace, I want them to know, regardless of what you've been through, it is not, that's why I named it Saved by Grace, from crazy, everything that I've been through, I brought it to Christ. You know, he wants your crazy, and your crazy is not too much. He can change your crazy and use it for his glory. And Saved by Grace, it is not because of us. You know, it has nothing to do with me. You know, me being here with you today is not because I can speak. I don't even know what I'm doing. It is just because of God's grace. It's because of God's grace that we are saved. It's because of Jesus, what Jesus did for us, what he gave up for us. Because of his grace that we are saved.
Awesome. Where can persons find your book? Because listen, just listening to you, and like I said, I've been binge watching you a bit, and you would have seen me making little comments here and there because you've been touching me. So I'm just, you know, there's so many others, and guys, I want you to really go get this book. You're listening to this woman, but listening to her, you realize, hey, she's really been to crazy. But thank God for salvation, you know, and you can see it. You can see it. So I want you to go get that book, get her book. Where can we find your book, sir?
Amazon is available to everybody, and it's both as an ebook and a paperback. You can get it there both as an ebook and a paperback on Amazon.
Awesome. I like your voice, and so I'm gonna encourage you to record the audio version of your book. I think you, because you've been through it, because it's you, I think you are able to articulate it in the way. And so I'm going to be, and I like to challenge my guests a bit. Not often I do it, but I do feel that challenge now. Go record the audio version of your book and use your own voice to do it. Think you got what it takes. And when you do it, make sure you send me. I need to buy the first copy.
I will. It's free.
All right. So, Star, what do you want women and girls all over the world watching and who will watch? What do you want to say to them? What do you want them to know?
I want women and girls to know that God loves you, that he created all of us for a purpose, on purpose, that you are not an accident, even if your mom tried to abort you, even if you live with adopted parents right now, regardless of your situation, God has a plan for your life. I cannot tell you that the journey is easy. The Bible clearly writes it that narrow and small is the way that leads to life. But I promise you, there is so much joy and so much peace in it. I feel like if we live this life not knowing, you know, why God placed us here, it's almost useless that we're here. If you have a machine at your home and you don't have the manual to use it, and it's just sitting there, it's useless. And God placed every single one of us, men and women, here for a purpose. I like to say that we're a little part of the puzzle. Like this world is a big puzzle, and each of us are a little part. And whatever it is you're going through, you don't have to do what I'm doing and what Miss Simone is doing, but it can be raising a child. You know, he probably called you to stand in the gap for your family, to break generational curses. You're probably in college and he wants you to be that child that is the light and the salt of this world. You know, you're probably a single mom and it is so difficult. But when I speak to single moms and, you know, moms that have children that suffer with autism, or they just feel like, you know, their life is difficult, you're taking care of your grandparents and it's only you. I like to tell people that God looked at everybody in this world and he said, who can I choose to treat that person with love and respect, to raise this child with autism? Who has enough love in their their hearts to take care of that child, to take care of those grandparents, to stand in the gap for their family, regardless of what it costs them. And God chose you. You know, God chose you and God chose me. So I want you to know that you were placed here for a purpose, on purpose, that God is with you. He cannot even leave you regardless of what you're doing. Like, even if you're sinning right now, He's omnipresent. So He cannot leave us. It is our sinful nature that makes us feel like we're separated from God. But God is always with us. He lives inside of us. So I want you to know that God is love. That God is love. He does everything with love and out of love, and that He loves you and He has a plan for you. If He can do it for me, girl, I think I have some of the most crazy in this world. If He can do it for me, He can wash me with His blood and I do not even look like where I came from. He can do it for you as well. That is what I want people to know.
Hallelujah. Like you would have seen me hold on my head. I'm just feeling that. I think the Lord has given you, you know, the verses, he gives us beauty for ashes. I think God has given you a voice. God has given you a voice. And I'm grateful that you've already been using that voice and finding the platforms to share your story. And keep doing so. I'm declaring that the Lord will bust open so many more doors so that your voice, and under the anointing of the Holy Spirit, can begin to bring healing and warmth to so many who will hear it. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure having you on the platform. Of course, I'm going to be putting your contact details in terms of your book in the comment box so persons can go on over and support you. Thank you so much. You're welcome. The Lord bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it again, another phenomenal story or another unique story, right? Of another woman who's been there, been through her trauma, but she is transformed, renewed, and of course, out here sharing, trying to set others free. Let me know how this story has impacted you. And if you've been too crazy and moving on to Christ, or you want some help, set it there, put it in the comment box. All right, guys, make sure you're subscribed, you're hitting the notification bell, and telling others about Uniquely Me and about the wonderful work we're doing here. See you next week. We'll have another phenomenal, unique story for you.
Who am I really? Choices, choices, choices. In pursuit of a career? OMG, I'm a wife. Help! I am a mother. Oh, I'm in church. When do I get to be a woman that God called me to be? Uniquely Me covers the acrobatic endeavors of every woman to balance the responsibilities of being a mother, a wife, a professional, a church leader, a friend, yet still maintain her identity. I too am a mother, a wife, a trained minister of religion, a banker, an entrepreneur trying to balance the many hats that signifies my role. My book will help motivate and empower every woman who is really unique in her own way. Grab your copy today on Amazon, because Uniquely Me is uniquely you.
Thank you for tuning in to Uniquely Me with Simone Stewart. Remember, Uniquely Me is uniquely you.